Okay, so we saw before how we can connect our Android phone physically to a laptop and then have it to pretend to be a keyboard and then program the Android device to send certain commands to this laptop. So we saw how we can add a username and a password with a password and add this username to the administrators and then remotely connect to the target laptop from another computer or from our Android device. Now the problem is the privileges on the logged in user does not allow you to add a new user. Another problem is remote desktop might not be enabled on the target computer. So if you actually want to gain full access to the target computer, you're better off using the powersploit option. This option allows you to get a reverse shell, so you get full access to the target computer, and you will then be able to escalate your privileges, change your privileges maybe to administrator. You can add usernames and passwords from this shell. You can change the shell to VNC shell, and then you'll see everything like remote desktop. You can do much more things. You can start sniffing. You basically get a reverse interpreter handler, which is part of the Metasploit. You will see what all that means now. Basically, it gives you a very powerful shell that gives you full access to the target computer. So the main attack method is the same. So we will be using our Android device to fool the target computer as a keyboard. So we're going to have to connect our Android device physically to the target computer. Once we do this, we will get a reverse shell on another machine. Now, where we get the reverse shell depend on what we want to do. We can actually get the reverse shell on the Android, or we can get the reverse shell on another computer sitting remotely anywhere else that we want. All you need to use is a tool called Metasploit. So I'm using Kali Linux right here as a virtual machine, and I have my terminal open, and I'm going to show you how we are going to set up our handler. So when we connect our Android device to the target machine, it's going to do a reverse connection. Instead of us connecting to the target computer from Kali, we're going to program our Android device to send commands to the Windows machine to make it connect to the Kali. We're doing reverse connection this way so that we can bypass firewalls. So this is my Kali machine. This is where I'm going to get my reverse connection. So you can run these commands on any computer or device that has Metasploit installed on it. Again, you can do this on your Android device in the terminal. You can do these commands and you'll get the shell back into your Android. But I'm doing it here on a different computer because in a scenario when you actually want to connect your device to another computer, you will look suspicious then using your device and you'll have a terminal and stuff on your device. So the best stealth way to do it is you connect your Android device to the target computer and then the shell goes back to another laptop somewhere else. So this is what we're actually doing. This is a virtual machine right here. The first command I'm going to run is to run the Metasploit console, and it's MSF console. This will take some time to load up the whole Metasploit framework. Now, Metasploit is a huge framework that can be used into many different things. So today we're only looking on how to set up a reverse handler and get a reverse connection on it. So in order to do that, we're going to do use exploit multi-handler. So this is the auxiliary that we're going to use. It's called exploit multi-handler. Then I'm going to type in show options. Now you can run show options at any stage to see the options that you have or you can set. So you can see that the module options are these and the payload is set this is correctly. So you might not actually have the payload set up correctly. The payload is the type of code that will spawn the reverse connection. So in my case, we're going to either use a reverse HTTPS or a reverse HTTP. So I'm going to set the payload. I'm actually just going to change it to show you how to change the payload. Because when you run it for the first time, you're going to have a blank for payloads. So I'm just going to show you how to change the payload. Now you can do this. Changing the payload is the same no matter what you are doing, even if you're running a different attack. So you just go set payload Windows interpreter reverse HTTP. And we can see that the payload was changed. Now, if you want to change the L port or the L host, it's the same format to change them. So if you want to change the L host is the listening host. So it's the IP of this current machine. I'm just going to see what's the IP of this machine using ifconfig. So that's just a Linux command to see the IP. So my IP is 192.168.0.14. So I'm going to do set again. So it's the same format. You type in set, and then you type in the name of the variable that you want to change. So the variable for me now is lhost, and I want to set it to 192.168.0.14. Okay, so I'm going to do show options again to make sure that all the options are correct. So we're using exploit multi-handler, Windows interpreter reverse HTTP. This is my IP and this is the port, and the target is Windows or wildcard, so everything's perfect. Now once you're ready, we're going to type in exploit. And as you can see, this doesn't really do anything. It just sits and waits for connections coming on port 4444. So it's not going to do anything. It's not going to try to hack or run any exploits. It's basically just waiting for any device to connect to it on port 4444. Again, you can run these commands on any device that has Metasploit, including your NetHunter device if you want to do it from it. Now we're all set, everything's ready. So we're going to go on our NetHunter machine. So I'm at my NetHunter home, and first thing I'm gonna navigate to my service control, and I'm gonna turn on my Apache server by tapping on it. So Apache is on now. Then I'm gonna go to my HID keyboard attack, and I'm gonna make sure that all these options are correct. So the first thing is our IP address, and that is correct, 192.168.0.14. Now that's the IP where the connection will be sent to. So that's the IP of the Kali machine that we run Metasploit on. And it's the same, you put in the same IP as the one that we put as the L host here. So as you can see that my L host is 192.168.0.14, and it's the same as this one. Second option is my port. Again, make sure it's the same, so it's 4444. The third option, the payload, again, make sure it's the same, Windows interpreter reverse HTTP. And then the last one is the IP. Now this should be the IP of your Android device. And as it's the same as what we saw in the home menu, so it's 192.168.0.8. And that's why we turned on our Apache server. So Apache is a web server, and that's where the payload is going to be stored. So once we execute the attack, the payload will be downloaded from the Android device. It will be executed on the Windows, the target machine, and it will send a connection to the machine that runs Metasploit, which is in this case the Kali machine, the virtual machine. So I'm going to hit on these three little dots, and I'm going to hit on execute attack. And I'm going to navigate quickly to my Windows. And as you can see now, these commands are actually being typed automatically, the same way that what happened when we ran our CMD or HID keyboard attack, when we typed in net user add, whatever. Now this will actually download a payload from the Android device, execute the payload on this machine, and then spawn a shell on this machine. And as we can see, we have access to the target Windows machine, so we can see that we have a session 1 opened. It's coming to this IP, which is our IP, and it's coming from 192.168.0.2, which is my Windows device. And now I have basically full access and full control over the target machine using my interpreter. Now I will give you a quick showcase of what you can do once you're in this situation.